Deadpool's social media antics continue to spur speculation. James Gunn speaks on the Superman Saga and Peacemaker Season 2, and we get our first look at Fallout Season 2. All of that and more coming up right after this. Welcome to Multiverse News, your source for information about all your favorite fictional universes. My name is Matthew Carroll, and with me on the panel today we have J. Scotty St. Clair. What's happening, J. Scotty?
Hey, it ain't easy being cheesy. If you don't get that reference, you got to tune into the live stream Tuesdays, 5:30.
Listen, J. Scotty, time. It's you saying it, and given your humor pattern, they get it. Like okay. It works on multiple levels, is all I'm saying. And Jay Sisson, welcome, my friend.
Yeah, next week we're going to be blind ranking cheeses. All right, we'll just throw them out there. You just put them on the board, and we'll have a good time.
I love it. Just really change the concept of the show. It's just a cheese show.
Yeah, this is the cheese episode. You just have to get on board.
Multiverse contains multitudes, okay?
That's right.
Somewhere in the multiverse, there's a podcast where we literally just talk about cheese. Like, that's the whole point of it.
Multiverse Blues.
And right now, we're like on that podcast, in between like bites of Gouda or whatever. We're like, oh man, somewhere out there, there's a podcast where we talk about movies and stuff.
Yeah, man, that sounds more interesting. Why are we talking about cheeses? All right, and from the 323 Network, Reed Murphy. What's going on, Reed?
It's almost like a perfect transition for me to be here. You want nothing but cheese talk? You want top 5 cheeses? Come to the 323 Network. We're supposed to do NFL talk? Nah. We got stuck on cheese.
You got a couple weeks before the season. You got cheese talk.
Just everybody come over there. We'll do same 4. We'll do top 5 cheeses round around.
I'm in. I'm just really a simple, like, extra sharp cheddar guy. Like, I want everything to be as sharp as possible. I'm a real cheddar hound.
You got your Munster. You got your pepper jack.
I do love a good Munster.
You know, there's
I'm partial
a lot
to
of
a Harvardy.
Ooh, I like a Havarti. I do like a Havarti.
I'm such a picky like cheese eater. Like, I don't like cheese on its own, but if it's blended into something, like I can get down with cheddar. I'm biggest on mozzarella. Maybe I'm a basic cheese person. Just basic. I don't know.
It sounds like you don't think of cheese as a whole food group like the rest of us do. It's just like it's like a thing that you put on things. Like cheese is a staple for me.
I had a coworker eating those what are those little baby bell cheeses? Whatever the little balls of cheese.
Oh yeah.
Disgusted me. Disgusted me.
Well, you're not supposed to eat the wax, you know.
You might as well. In my case, I would it might edge it up for me.
Okay.
Oh man. All right, Reed, with the hot takes, wax is better than cheese.
Coming in hot, baby.
All right, well, let's get into our first, our first 5-star review first. From Me Cosmos, they say, always look forward to listening to the newest episode every week. Thank you, Me Cosmos. We always look forward to recording the new episode every week.
Me Cosmos says to Cosmos.
It's not easy being cheesy. I like it.
That's right.
All right, well, let's dive into our first story. It would appear as though Ryan Reynolds' social media stunt we discussed last week is having the intended effect, as a few of our favorite trades can't seem to come to a consensus. First, in the August 15th edition of Heat Vision, The Hollywood Reporter's exclusive column for all things comics, horror, and sci-fi, Boris Kitt claimed that their sources confirmed Deadpool's inclusion in Avengers Doomsday. However, later that day, Deadline refuted the speculation by citing their own sources, who said the actor has not been seen on the London set and is not intended to appear in either upcoming Avengers film. In less nebulous Doomsday talk, Nightcrawler actor Alan Cumming described his experience returning to the role as healing after a terrible experience on 2003's X2. All of this is coupled with rampant rumors and speculation surrounding the set and cast of Avengers Doomsday. What do we make of these rumblings?
Yeah, I can't help but recall, we talked about this last week, so stalwart listeners might be like, hey, you guys talked about this last week, what are you doing? That's just gives credit to the ploy that Ryan Reynolds pulled here, and I can't help but recall what you brought up last week after I gave my my take there, Matt, and you said, what about a third option? What if it is Ryan Reynolds who is himself being the Anarchy? And I think that has proven itself to be true, because here we have trades that we cite very regularly. We've got the Hollywood Reporter, and we've got Deadline, and neither one of them can, come to a consensus on whether or not he's in the movie. So good on you, Ryan Reynolds. If that was your intention to be the Anarchy, you have lived up to the self-fulfilling prophecy there. But so with that being said, I've had the opportunity to think on it a little bit more and actually contemplate if Deadpool is in the movie, and we'll talk about it in our Spotify poll later on here, whether or not he should appear in Doomsday or Secret Wars. I'm with everybody else for the most part. I do think that he would be better served being held off for Secret Wars. But then I thought about it a little bit more, and considering where we're at with the Multiverse Saga and thinking about not the diehards like myself or, the people that tune into this podcast or on this panel, I think there is an argument to be made for those people that aren't diehards like that. What is their context for the multiverse? And I think there's a strong argument to be made that outside of Doctor Strange, Deadpool and Wolverine has been the most viewed movie, and that is the most time that we've really spent exploring the multiverse and its ramifications. So I think there is a total possibility here, again, with Deadpool and Wolverine raking in $1 billion. Disney wants that. They're going to want to have connection that in a character that people recognize and have seen and are invested in. I could see a scenario where Deadpool kind of acts as a broker of knowledge for the multiverse, or even a liaison to the TVA or something like that. And, Kevin Feige was on record after Deadpool and Wolverine saying that, I'm glad you honed in on anchor beings. Anchor beings are going to be an important thing going forward. If that's the case, anchor beings were introduced in Deadpool and Wolverine. And so we'll have to wait and see if that remains to be true. But all of that is compounded by just the rampant rumors that are flying out there. And, there's a lot of talk about, this character is going to appear and that character is going to appear. And we've even talked about hey, there could be a potential next cast announcement that confirms a lot of these characters. But I'm a little less interested in those rumors. And the ones that I won't say excite me more, but I will say they are of more import to me and kind of concern me a little bit more, are the rumors about the chaotic set. And I take it with a grain of salt, but an insider that we've referenced a lot here, Jeff Snyder, recently said that basically he had heard that Robert Downey Jr. is responsible for 3 weeks of reshoots because he was on set basically directing. There was somebody else in the suit while he was standing off to the side directing, and then decided somewhere down the line, this isn't working, let me get in the suit. So if that's the case, a lot of egos clashing here. I'm so excited for this movie. I have a lot of trust in the Russos. I have a lot of trust in RDJ. I have a lot of trust in Kevin Feige and McFeely, but it seems like there are so many moving pieces and so many spinning plates at this point in time. I will be shocked if this movie doesn't get delayed again based on what we're hearing.
Yeah, I love a good source off. My source says this and my source says this.
Sure.
We'll just have to see what happens with that. But yeah, I can't imagine a world where you don't have those two characters, Deadpool and Wolverine, in at least one of these movies. This is your only movie since Avengers Endgame that has, I guess Spider-Man or whatever. That's Sony, though. But this is your movie that has gotten to those heights of crossing $1 billion. The other movies, Fantastic Four is probably going to end with a 5 in front of its worldwide box office. Thunderbolts ended with, a 3 in front of its, Captain America Brave New World, I think, ended with a 4, right? So, these are very low numbers for traditional MCU movies that routinely were breaking $1 billion in the lead up to Avengers Endgame. And I know we can say it's superhero fatigue or it's COVID or it's the economy or whatever, but whatever it is, it's just a fact of the reality that we live in. And so you're telling me if I'm Bob Iger and I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, you're getting the Marvel guys together, but you've got this movie here with 2 of the Marvel guys and it made over $1 billion, you're getting them in that movie because we need as many people from as many different corners of this thing that you've built to come see it. At the same time in the theater. Now, will he be in Avengers Endgame? I don't know, but I would be, if we get to the end of Avengers Secret Wars and we've not seen a thing from Deadpool or Wolverine since that film, that would be shocking to me, just based on kind of what's happened with the reality of the universe and how the thing has been built. And yeah, Scotty, you're right about the set. It's weird. Like, you get these like weird discussions coming out about it, where there was a report a few weeks ago about a lot of the actors were unhappy about their roles. Like, people were coming out and there was rumblings that, there weren't names attached necessarily, but that, this person and this person thought that they should have had a bigger role and they had a smaller role, and there was a little bit of tension there. So, at the end of the day, it's hard because it's such a lockdown set, but as more and more information starts to come out, and then when we finally see the film, we'll kind of have this discussion again probably about production.
Oh, totally.
Was production what it was supposed to be and what we envisioned while it was happening, and while this set was being built? And, like we've heard, the film is basically being written as it's being shot. And I guess after the movie is over, we'll have to have the discussion, was this the right move or not?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to agree that there's no possible way that neither of these two characters in Deadpool and Wolverine are in, if not Doomsday, then Secret Wars, just because, like you said, it's the basic concept here, the entire reset, the entire inclusion of all these different multiversal, worlds. So you got to have them in there just story-wise, I believe, but also, like you said, financially, based off of how profitable and how big that was compared to everything else that Marvel's put out lately. Honestly, I agree with, I think Scotty said it first about Ryan Reynolds just playing anarchy here and just, might be that kind of mystery source in all of this. And it could be a entirely Marvel driven thing here to put out these kind of reports and to drive interest in general here. And even with the set leaks and the set photos, it could just be things that they want to get out there. I've been thinking this with even like a Spider-Man Brand New Day and seeing all the, different set photo leaks and, these promo videos for the movie just to kind of generate some type of hype and generate things to lead up to the production instead of, let's go all in on secrecy here. Let's keep everybody in the dark on everything and everybody will wonder. It's gotten to the point, and I think they've seen that audiences are just like, I'll find out when it hits Disney Plus, I guess at this point. There's a lot of mystery. I'll find out later, or somebody will, put it out, or they'll put it out in the commercials. I don't need to go to find out. No,
that's fair.
Let's generate the hype by, Deadpool's coming back in this, or he's not. Now you've got, it's like the Hollywood Reporter and Variety are like Captain America and Bucky fighting Iron Man and Iron Man's deadline right now. They're all just beating the shit out of each other to figure out the source off. So
yeah,
you generate a lot of hype by doing these kinds of things, and maybe this will lead to another Chairs reveal. Maybe, when things start to quiet down again, that's when they're going to drop some more actors in some way. D23 is coming up. So that could be a spot to, officially confirm, Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, whoever else that they want to throw in there. Honestly, if that's what they're doing, it's working on me. I'm excited about this no matter what. It could be a total mess, but it's a total mess that childhood me has been dreaming of for years to see, potentially see, at the very least, the Fox X-Men interacting with, these MCU characters that we've, been getting to grow with and see build up. So if it's a mess, that's the multiverse. That's the, that's the Big Bang. That's the reset. So I'm down with it no matter what. I think it's going to be an exciting time.
Yeah, me too. And I'm right there with you guys. This whole source off thing, Deadline's just wrong. Deadline's wrong. There's no way. Deadpool is in Secret Wars. Like, Deadpool's in Secret Wars, and likely Logan is too. Like, there's just no way they're not doing that. The only question in my mind is whether they're going to bring him in Doomsday, which we'll get to it later. But that was our Spotify question this week. What does our audience think of that? And I really. Why don't we just jump to that? It's so relevant to what we're talking about. I know we normally save it for the thing, but our Spotify question.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Our Spotify poll this week was, should Deadpool appear in Doomsday or wait for Secret Wars? And Doomsday, 16% of you said you want Deadpool to show up in Doomsday, and 84% of you said you wanted them to wait for Secret Wars. So, like, I think I love our audience because I think that's a thoughtful answer. And I know I feel like I'm being a little biased because that's how I feel, but sure. Being thoughtful about like the way that Deadpool could affect the tone of Doomsday and all this stuff, and like all the reasons that it would be nice to wait a movie, I think. And Secret Wars just feels like a perfect place for Deadpool to be doing all kinds of hijinks while so much chaos is going on. But I think we need Doomsday to feel weighty and serious, and Deadpool running around might undercut that a lot. So. Yeah,
the play,
I think if anything
here is the post-credit scene, right?
Yes,
I mean, of Avengers,
100%,
right? Like introduce sort of your next movie that's coming out in a year through a post-credit scene with Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds. Somehow you could try to make it a little light. Maybe your second post-credit scene, which is traditionally like the lighter one, something like that.
Totally, and I really think. The more and more I think about it, the more and more I realize like how important it was that Deadpool and Wolverine dealt with the TVA so much, because a lot of people didn't watch Loki, and Loki, all the TVA stuff would mean nothing to them, but the fact that they like in the most watched movie really showed the TVA, to me that means they're bringing them back for Secret Wars and Doomsday. Like they're going to be a part of the proceedings, and I think it makes sense that whatever Doom is going to do in Doomsday to cause this collapse of the universes into Secret Wars and Battle World and all of that stuff, it would make sense that the TVA is part of the cleanup process. And so I just think Deadpool's going to be there to be like, hey, remember these guys?
I don't know if it would work as a post-credit scene or just like subsequent or, supplemental marketing material or something like that, but I just can't escape the thought of like, if RDJ is going to be like the real version of Doom that they've touted him as, he's going to have Doom bots. So I'm envisioning Deadpool sitting there with Doom, and he's thought he's had this whole movie fighting Doom, and then Doom's head pops off like he was a Doom bot the whole time or something like that. He's like, dang it! Like, what the beep?
Yeah. He kills a Doom bot and is like, dang it, this guy's worse than Kang. Sure. Kill one, there's just another and another and another.
More dispensable than Kang.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next story. It's a big week for DC Studios with Superman hitting VOD last Friday and Peacemaker Season 2 premiering this Thursday. While on the red carpet for the show's debut in New York, DC Studios head and Peacemaker showrunner James Gunn defended Superman's quick availability for home viewing after just 35 days in theaters by sharing how the film impacts the series. It's a big part. Definitely Superman leads directly into Peacemaker, said Gunn while speaking with The Hollywood Reporter. Continuing, he said, Superman leads into the show, and then we have the setting up of the rest of the DCU in this season of Peacemaker. It's incredibly important. Gunn also teased the future for Superman on the big screen, saying, I've already finished the treatment for the next story in what I'll call the Superman Saga. The treatment is done, which means a very, very worked out treatment. I'm working on that and hopefully going into production on that not too far away from today. Is the future looking bright for the DCU and its saga of sagas?
Yeah, the Peacemaker stuff's interesting because I think whenever we heard that Peacemaker was getting a season 2, and especially because it was connected to the old DCEU, we sort of assumed that it would just sort of exist in its own little corner, that somehow it was going to have some antics and they were going to bring the characters over to the DCU so he could have, all of his toys in one toy box. But ultimately, he continues to say, and I don't think he's lying about this, just based on kind of early reviews, like that this actually does connect in a significant way to the DCU, that it's more than just cameos, it's more than just, Nathan Fillion's there for like a scene or whatever. It seems like it actually has some real stakes for the future of what this franchise is building, which, I don't know what the play is going to look like there in the long term. We know Disney has had its struggles with Marvel in this respect, like trying to sort of pull its movies onto people's couches so people can watch these shows over multiple weeks and then come back to the theater, that it doesn't always work as seamlessly as maybe we thought it would after Endgame, where, you had your WandaVisions and stuff and everybody was in on that. But then as the years have gone on, we've seen kind of a drop off of the Disney Plus shows, and the characters don't really translate to the big screen as much. So I kind of have to wonder, as we're looking ahead here for the strategy of DC, like, is it the best idea to do the whole, hey, we're going to build these characters up off screen and then on screen and then off screen and then on screen? So, and we'll see how it goes. I think when the stuff's good, that can cover a lot of problems, like people will watch good stuff and talk about good stuff. So, and I think Peacemaker was a very successful show on HBO when it was on. So I can see that kind of leading into this next thing. But all that being said, I really like the move to go video on demand this early. I know that's not really the industry standard, but the box office was fizzling out. Fantastic Four hit. It really that Superman drop off just kind of kept happening. So now you're touting, all right, we got the next thing. It's going to be on HBO Max, and you can watch Superman at home right now. And I think that brought a lot of people in, like people who didn't go to the theater and saw it. They were kind of, maybe they were meaning to get around and see it. They were kind of like, well, I can watch it at home now. And they're probably going to be more encouraged to go do that. And they've kind of captured this sort of like, this region of this like kind of Labor Day kind of like area that we're in, this kind of like end of summer type area that we're in as, maybe the home event thing to catch at home. So I think that's a good move. And I would imagine we're going to see a little bit more of that, especially with these box office drops that we see, this kind of like a little quicker to get to that video on demand and get out of the theater. So, and then, looking ahead here, the Superman Saga that he's talking about, like, he does, no pun intended, he does jump the gun a little bit here with some of this stuff. And I'm looking ahead and I'm kind of thinking like, man, I would really like to know how Supergirl does in theaters before you start kind of building your entire universe around Superman and Supergirl. Like, that's going to be your tentpole. And it begs the question, like, is that what DC needs? Like, they need that grounded sort of, these are our characters we're building the whole thing through? Or is that going to end up kind of being this, long-term thing we look back and go, man, they put a lot of eggs on that basket, and they ignored Batman, and they kept kicking the can on that, which is probably their most popular character, and we kind of built around those characters instead. So that remains to be seen, but, he says it with conviction, like he's ready to build the universe around those characters.
Let's face it, it's not about Superman. It's around Crypto. Crypto is the glue that is going to hold this universe together. Like, clearly he's going to be a main character in Supergirl, and then whatever this third super family type movie is going to be, I think they're going to tie it all together. I bet we'll get Bizarro back, and there'll be other Superman. Who knows what other Superman characters they might bring in? There's all kinds of super family characters through the years. So I think it's a smart move. I think it's a balance. You got to respond to your audience and see what works and be able to pivot if you need to. But you also have to follow up the stuff that people like somewhat quickly with a follow-up. And I think that's what's smart about this passing Crypto off, because I joke that Crypto's the center of this universe, but he really is going to be the connective tissue between this and Supergirl. And like, it's going to be a big deal, because I think a lot of people liked Crypto a lot because it's just a cute dog in a movie, and it doesn't really, you don't have to like superheroes to like that. And that gets more general audiences out. And they really made him a hero in the Superman movie, and like really made him a heroic character and important, and like also chaotic and fun. So I think it's going to be really good. I think it's a good, smart move. We talked a lot last week on the MCU cast about like what has been the flaw with phases 4 through 6, for 4 and 5, I guess, of the MCU. And my main contention is that they didn't follow up their hits with follow-ups. Shang-Chi should have been followed up. Other things that they did in the series should have been followed up. They should have had a plan. And so I can't sit here and say like, don't put your eggs in one basket, James Gunn. That's what WB has been doing all these years. They kind of wait too long to like plan ahead and make their next Superman movie. They went all those years, a decade, and never made a follow-up to Superman, like a real legitimate Superman 2, Man of Steel 2. And I think they need to keep that machine moving while, of course, dodging the pitfalls of making a crappy movie because you're trying to move too fast. So it's just a balance. And you got to you got to pay attention to what the audience cares about, but you also have to have vision to be willing to step forward in the process early enough to keep these movies coming out at a pace that makes us feel like it's a cohesive universe. Because you wait 5 years and nobody cares about the Riddler and the Joker talking across cells anymore, you know? Nobody cares.
Let's face it, it's not about Superman, it's about Peacemaker. And I say that in jest, but in all seriousness, it is top of mind. It's premieres this week, and it really snuck up on me. But I just have to say how excited I am for Peacemaker and how much I enjoyed that first season. So that considered, I think it is pretty wild to think about the fact that a 4-quarter mass appeal big screen outing seemingly has to kowtow to a TV show that's made for a very specific mature audience. Like that kind of blows my mind a little bit. And maybe that's an instance of James Gunn, just trying to reframe it to maybe he was forced to do certain things that he didn't want to do. And so he's like, the 35 days, that actually works in my favor and works into my overall plan, because that just kind of seems like the kind of guy he is to me. But, to address the whole thing that we've been talking about with Superman and whether or not they gave it a fair shot in the theatrical run before making it available on digital, it does make sense to me. It makes sense for families, but me as a mid-30s single guy, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I can at least appreciate the perspective of families. Like, you may not have gone out and brought the whole family and spent upwards of $100 to go see the movie, but you're willing to shell out the $20 to $30 for the digital rental these days. I haven't done it in years, so I don't even know what they cost, but I know they're a little bit higher.
I think it's $25 right now for the rental.
Okay, I knew it was a little bit higher.
I paid the $30 to buy it. I paid the $30 to buy it because I knew I'd want to watch it for the next month or so.
There you go. Maybe we can talk a little bit about some of the special features. I saw the clip of Korn, Sweat, and Gunn kind of going back and forth with his big speech scene there.
I did see that clip, yeah.
Okay, we can talk about that. But I say all of that to say, while it makes sense and still is helping them, make a profit where they might not be making one, it's a double-edged sword, because it embraces, I won't say it sets a precedent because the precedent's already there, but it embraces a precedent, and it trains the audience. So it's like everything that we're talking about with Marvel, with Pixar, even with DC and HBO a little bit, like if you train your audience to know that this is going to be available for streaming or digitally in just a matter of time, that's where I get scared again about the theatrical experience. And maybe we're going the way that it's just going to be events, that they're going to be these akin to a amusement park experience. Those are the only things you're going to go out to the theater for. But I would bemoan that. I would be sad when that day passes. So the other part that I'll address here is dubbing the future of Superman as the Saga. I'll be curious to see how long that moniker sticks, because I remember we lost the Legacy from Superman, we lost Woman of Tomorrow from Supergirl, and then I look on the other side of the DCU, and Reeves' Elseworld has already been dubbed the Epic Crime Saga. So, can we have more than one saga within a saga? I don't know. I don't know. But at the mention of the Batman in that world, before we move on entirely, I did want to just comment a little bit on Gunn was refuting some rumors that were out there about the script and certain characters' involvements and whatnot. And him, being as hyperbolic as ever, said that only 6 people have read this script. So I highly doubt that's
one
the
of
case.
One of them is Sean Gunn for sure.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, what role you want to play, bro?
Yeah.
He's Robin. He's Robin for sure.
Hopefully Kristen Milioti is one of them.
Oh, yeah. Please.
Actually, you mentioned Robin. I think it was Robin specifically was the rumor that he was trying to shut down.
Yeah, he did talk about that. Yeah.
And that's what keeps me curious about this entire future, right? And making Superman the centerpiece of this DCU is it's bold. It's also smart in trying to get this character as popular as possible and trying to make this character, what it used to be in his golden age of comics and animation in the Christopher Reeve films, and getting back to that. And, that way Batman can kind of hang to the side a little bit. Obviously, Batman's going to become a force and a character in this new universe at some point whenever they want. And it's going to be a hit because it's Batman. Doesn't matter who it's going to, whether it's Pattinson, whether they somehow shelled out money to do a new version of Bale, or who knows who it could be. And make Superman the focal point with Corrin Sweat, a young lead star, rising star, and getting it onto video on demand faster. It is sad to see that that's where the theatrical releases are going now, that it's just a quicker time, but we know people aren't going to the theaters. My co-host on the 323, Scott Elliott, he hates going to the theaters. He's been very vocal about it. He will not go to the theaters anymore. He's been just anti all the way and has been looking forward to Superman. Happy that it's already on VOD. At that point, if it's $25, I don't know if he's going to pay it. I don't know how many people will pay it. But, at some point, they're going to watch it and the popularity will rise. And bringing him, tying the importance into Peacemaker Season 2, which was a show I loved. I know it was popular to an extent. I'm curious to see if it really is going to pay off to set up so much integral stuff, like Gunn is saying, for the DCU in this season of Peacemaker. But I think you can already see through the trailers that they are setting up some at least following up on some stuff from Superman that could be really big to the DCU and connecting things, and potentially even connecting things to the DCEU, or figuring out how exactly Peacemaker Season 1 ties into this new universe. And that's something that has me excited, that has me very curious. It also, like Scotty said, snuck up on me like crazy. I had no idea it was already coming out within the next week or so. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to just seeing how that goes. And, it does make me sad that this is what the theatrical release timeline is now, and it's probably going to get shorter and shorter depending on the size of the movie. Obviously, like your Avengers Doomsday, or whenever they do an inevitable Justice League film for DC or something of that sort, it's probably going to last a little bit longer, and making it you have to go to the theater to see this, you got to check it out on this. But if it's going to help build up your product and create maybe a little more synergy and some type of cohesion, then good for it. See how it goes. And I think that's the one pro that it has compared to Marvel and how things went on Disney Plus, that you have a vision, a singular vision from James Gunn kind of constructing what's going on through the movies and the shows, as opposed to what we saw with the MCU, where it seemed like a lot of shows were supposed to be tied into movies, and it became, like Feige and others said, homework, and then you couldn't really keep track of what's what, who's where's everybody going. At some point, White Vision will appear, and people are like, what the hell happened to him? And you got to go watch it somewhere else. So I think that there's some hope for this, and we'll get our first look at it with Peacemaker.
Yeah. Gunn he'll have to be careful with the handoff, because if it's too drastic, like if it's narratively extremely important that you watched Peacemaker to understand the DCU, that's not a good play. Superman was rated PG-13. Peacemaker is not. And he, on the red carpet, was like, he even said, this is not for kids. Like, he kept saying that over and over. And it's a problem, though, if you're taking something that, like, narratively is vital, and you're telling that story in this R-rated environment that is not going to appeal to everyone, which, it's not even just that it's rated R, it's just that type of, like, humor and violence. It's just not for everybody. Like, it's like Haley, when she's on here, she talks about, like, Peacemaker's not really for me, because it's just like, it's not my style of humor. She it's like, I'll go see Superman, but Peacemaker's not really my thing. And I get that. They're two very different styles of thing. So you just got to be careful. You got to walk a line a little bit, and you got to make sure that when you finally try to reel that back in and you build that bigger narrative for the universe, that you haven't told too much of it in a corner that's not going to be accessible to everyone. because I think that's been a big Marvel problem, is really kind of like pushing a lot of narratives off to the side where your fans are watching them, like your hardcore fans for sure, they're totally plugged in, but the average general audience is a little behind. They feel like they've missed something when they go to the theater and they're seeing Captain Marvel and they're like, who's Miss Marvel, who's this Tiana Paris, who's she playing? Like they're kind of behind, if they haven't kept up. Yeah. So it's a little bit of a balancing act that we got here. That I'll be curious to see. When we're on the other side of Peacemaker, what are we looking at here in terms of the wider DCU?
Yeah, you're spot on. There's no way that I don't believe him. I believe this movie is going to be have direct impact from Superman, and it is going to help flesh out the world of the DCU, both like this dimensional travel that they sort of played with Lex Luthor having pocket dimensions and stuff. There's clearly playing with some of that stuff in Peacemaker. And I think the biggest thing is I think we're going to see the fallout, the entire, I guess a little bit of spoiler alerts for the Superman movie if you haven't seen it yet, but the entirety of the Superman movie is predicated on Superman intervening in Baravia. Like, that's the whole thing, and that's the whole inciting incident of the entire movie that we don't see. It's off screen, but that's the entire thing. The end of the movie is the Justice Gang doing the same thing, and they're not as powerful, and I have a feeling they're going to be met with extreme, tension from the public because of what they did, particularly what Hawkgirl did. Like, I think that's where we're going to see the impacts, and it's going to show, like, sort of like, if you're following this universe, how the tensions of metahumans versus the government and all that stuff is going to bubble up, and we're going to see all of that, and we're going to see how the universes interconnect through these back doors. But I think that's it. I don't think there's almost anything we're going to need to know from Peacemaker to see Superman or whatever.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a little bit of a case of him misspeaking a little bit. I think Superman will be necessary to understand Peacemaker Season 2. But will Peacemaker Season 2 be necessary to understand the future of the DCU? Maybe on a very, very minor or minuscule level, but I really think he's talking, and we talked about how terminally online he is, right? I think part of when he misspeaks like this, I think he's talking to, I'll even call myself out. Like, he's probably talking to somebody like me where I can compartmentalize, but part of my brain really is like the continuity. How are you taking the DCU and making it work with this DCU? And I think that's what he's talking about. Like, if you have qualms with that, if you have questions about that, I think that is the purpose that Peacemaker Season 2 is going to serve. But it remains to be seen.
I could see it absolutely kind of like taking the pasta conversation from The Flash and sort of using it to sort of like explain how the universe is, it looks like we made spaghetti and now there's this whole new universe and you can travel there if you want to. This whole conversation, though, is making me think about something about James Gunn that I have thought from the time he was announced as the head of DC Studios, and I am starting to feel like I might have been right. And it's my worry about James Gunn as the head of DC Studios. I think he's going to be a great filmmaker, but he's a creative. Sometimes you need a Kevin Feige at the helm. That's how it's worked so far. Marvel has done a really good job of having a Kevin Feige. He's not he's a creative guy. He's clearly involved in a lot of these decisions, but he is not a director or a writer. And I think one thing we are seeing from James Gunn is he does a project and he's so creative and excited about it, he falls down a rabbit hole of that thing and wants to keep making the thing he enjoyed making. He made the Suicide Squad, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. He made the Suicide Squad. He enjoyed that so much. He then made spin-off of the Peacemaker. And I would say that Creature Commandos is also kind of a spin-off with Waller and everything. And like both of those things were DCEU. And then he took over and was like, I'm going to keep those canon. Like he's still making a spin-off from a movie he made in the old DC. He's making 2 spin-offs that he made in the old DCEU, and now he's made a Superman movie, and what's getting prioritized? Superman. It's going to be 3 Superman things in a row, and I think this is James Gunn. He's really fascinated with the stories he's telling. He's going to like bear down on these one stories, and I kind of wish there was a guy going, okay, that's good. Keep doing that, James Gunn.
Well,
but
that's
I'm going to
be Peter Safran's job.
Well, kind of. That's Peter Safran's. Peter Safran's doing like the business side of things. I just think that like James Gunn, as a creative, he's perseverating on certain things and he's not moving on to the next and the next and the next. And you have to be thinking about 4 other things that are going to intersect with your things. And he's going to end up making 3 or 4 Superman movies before we get anything else. And it's going to feel like, instead of the DCU, it's going to feel like the Superman universe. And then we're going to get a series of Batman movies or whatever. You know, it's going to feel ill planned out if he's not careful. And that's what I've been worried about the whole time, is that he's going to be a great creative, but as a studio head, he's not going to be able to keep everything moving like it needs to move. All the clockwork of a universe turning, you know?
I think it, again, just speaks to the uniqueness of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? It's
sure.
Nobody's ever been able to recreate it, not even the DCU, as much as it's like, you know, I don't even think it's trying to at this point. I think it is just speaking to, like, we're just changing models here. Like, the movies are becoming more reflective of the comic books. Like, you get a writer that goes on a run that people resonate with this version of the character. You pick the previous versions of characters that worked in their own right and you incorporate it. That is just the way the comics work. And I think that's what we're going to be looking at going forward. And I become more and more open to that possibility as you know, we try to work the continuity of these massive and sprawling universes more and more.
It makes sense to me, and I dig it, and I'm also bought in on that concept. But it also just makes me sad because we had Avengers, Age of Ultron, Infinity War, Endgame, and it just felt like it just got better and better and better, in my opinion.
That was a run for sure.
Like those 4 Avengers movies just got better, and I was just like, this is the model for making a universe happen. But then you see how hard it is when everyone else tries to get in on it. Even Marvel now trying to recreate it is having a hard time. And so,
hey, don't forget the Chicago universe on NBC. You know,
that's true.
Chicago PD, Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, Chicago. I mean,
that's right.
Yeah. They get the crossover events.
Mm-hmm.
Crossover with the Law and Order franchise too, and then it's just
there you go.
You're like Olivia Benson from SVU's here too. It's crazy.
Somewhere it's still in the head of that boy from St. Elsewhere.
That's right. That's right. The Tommy Westphall universe.
Yeah.
All the Tommy Westphall universe.
There you go. I know we're long-winded on this one, but it is bringing to mind what we were talking about, like, you know, the differences between Marvel and DC. And I think the through line, from my perspective, is when you start to see a little bit of a wane in the quality, or a lack in the through line there, is when they become more reactionary. I think it was like, we were having the debate about, like, you have to kind of be all in on something and not pivot too hard when the audience reaction is not there. You kind of have to, but it's a fine line. You have to be able to commit to your vision and build a foundation for it, but also respond appropriately to what's not working. But I think DC was they were the first ones that were super guilty of it, just abandoning plans that were laid to be very reactive. And I think we're seeing Marvel do it now. And you look back at Phase 1, not all of those movies worked, but they stuck with it and all came together by that first Avengers film.
100%. All right, well, let's get into our next story. Back to the wasteland we go, as Amazon's marketing for Fallout Season 2 has begun in preparation for its December 17th premiere, with a full court press that includes first-look images and a trailer that was released earlier today. The images showcase returning characters played by Ella Purnell, Walton Goggins, Moises Arias, Aaron Moten, and Kyle MacLachlan. While the 2-minute and 42-second trailer gave us our first glimpse at Justin Theroux's enigmatic Mr. House and Macaulay Culkin in an undisclosed role, which were, of course, accompanied yet again by the crooning stylings of the ink spots. Do these first snippets of Fallout's sophomore season have us encouraged about the creator's ability to recapture what made the first season so special?
I really do feel encouraged about this. I was thoroughly surprised and loved Season 1. It was a game, Fallout, that I played a little bit in the past. It wasn't, something that I really dove into for a while, but it was something that, it's a style that I enjoy. I love post-apocalyptic stories, and I love the dark humor involved with it too. So then they do this adaptation for Amazon. I'm like, okay, this actually looks halfway decent. I'll give it a try at some point. I completely forgot about it, and then all of a sudden the whole season was there. I was like, yeah, let me watch an episode or two. wound up binging the whole thing in a couple of days, and I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the world. I fell in love with the style. I fell in love with the performances. Ella Purnell was just awesome as Lucy. Walton Goggins is incredible in anything, and so getting this glimpse at season 2 finally, and the adaptation of New Vegas, and getting to see Lucy and the Ghoul running side by side into this thing head first. It's just exciting. Everything looks like it's still there. The ridiculous bloody gore that can sometimes pop up in there is definitely on full blast in the trailer, no pun intended. And I was very excited to see Justin Theroux. I've loved him in any performance since he was in The Leftovers on HBO. That was an incredible 3-season show that he was fantastic on. And then I didn't realize that Macaulay Culkin was in it until I saw this rundown, and then I put 2 and 2 together. I'm like, that thing, that guy. That was Macaulay Culkin. Oh, crazy. That's little Kevin. Okay. And so that makes me more excited that even like I had a great I'm hoping for a great reunion between Macaulay Culkin and Walton Goggins for anybody that's a Righteous Gemstones fan and Uncle Baby Billy.
Good call.
And his
Good
kid.
call.
Yeah, so there's just so much excitement here. I think the creators of the show really understand what makes this world really cool and awesome, and are really excited themselves to bring some of these characters and creatures into a live action adaptation. And what really excites me the most and impresses me the most is how quick of a turnaround we were able to get on this show. It's a year since season 1 came out. I've become accustomed to waiting, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years for a new show. And we're about to get Euphoria season 3, and that show started, I think, in 2019, and they're still working on season 3 there. That is not anything with the budget and stakes and everything level of what you would think goes into Fallout. So very impressive that they were able to get it such a quick turnaround on a new season, and that it looks so fun and still capturing everything that made me fall in love with season 1. So I'll be there the moment it drops.
Yeah, Fallout New Vegas it's really like a beloved adventure in the Fallout universe. Like if people played the game, which I've played most of them, that's one that people talk about. Like they still talk about as being maybe their favorite experience, or it was so different. And it had all this it was like this. It was just felt separate enough. It was connected, but it was separate enough from everything else to where they really explored some really cool different types of factions. And then when you see this trailer, you see that the people who made it really understand that game, because all the things that somebody who played that game wanted to see were in this trailer. You saw little snippets of the factions. There's like a faction called the Legion. There's Mr. House, who's like the main sort of like character that's like kind of an antagonist, kind of not, kind of in the middle. He's in there front and center. You've got like the big dinosaur or whatever, like the mouth that she's in, and that's from that. So it's just all these like little homages, the creatures, the rad roaches. There's like a death claw, which is like a big thing that you have to fight that like kills you a million times before you can defeat it. Again, it's like kind of like a joke among people who play the game. Like it's just, you watch it and you're like, all right, this is it. Like they get it. They understand the fan side of it, but they also understand how to appeal to a wider audience who liked season 1, because this had strong season 1 vibes. Walton Goggins is in his bag in this. You can tell like he is going to be the main character of this thing, and it makes sense. He's going to be used as the narrative device to connect the how did we get here, the explanation, and then in the current, since he can't die basically, we're going to go back and forth between him, and it's a great storytelling device, a great character to build around. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it's this trailer did everything it needed to do. I don't really want to watch more trailers, to be honest. Like I kind of want to just go in from here and see what we got.
Dun, 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 to set the world. And I'll kill it there because I don't want to get copyright strike.
I thought we were.
If you know,
I would
you
have
know.
bet if you would have asked me like, "Hey, all the money in like that you have, bet it on one song." I would have said it would be like "Viva Las Vegas" or something. Like I was like, for sure it'll be a Las Vegas centered song. But nope.
Sure.
But I like the choice.
Yeah, I stuck with the classic ink spots there. But much like the two of you so far, I enjoyed this trailer. I thought it was pretty effective, especially in the sense that it was able to really pay homage to the, pardon the pun here, but the fallout of season 1 without actually spoiling it, right? So we get to kind of check in with every character that was important in that first season and get some idea of where they're going. And there was a great shot of Walton Goggins pre-Ghoul in like a power armor, and I'm really excited to see what that scenario is all about. But Reed, I'm right there with you as far as Justin Theroux goes. I think casting directors are absolutely sleeping on him. Cast him in more things. I'd love to see him in all of the universes that we love. Star Wars. I mean, he guy can play a great villain. He can also play a great hero, to your point with the Leftovers there. But also just a random aside, I really loved him in the Lego Ninjago movie. He voiced the villain in that, but he did just a great job of like hamming it up as a villain, but also like being super
He really
heartfelt.
was.
So
I did not. I've watched that movie with my kids before, and like I feel like you can see the light bulb come on over my head through the screen just now. Like that, you said that. I had no clue that he was that character. That's so funny.
Clearly the highlight of the movie.
Oh, he's great in it. Yeah, the voice is great.
Yeah. But Reed, you also mentioned, and I'm the one that did this write-up for this feature, and I referenced Macaulay Culkin, but I got to be honest, I could not say for certain that I saw him in the trailer, so I have to ask you, who was he in the trailer? Because I saw the guy in the cockpit with Maximus, and I was like, is that Kumail? Is that Kumail Nanjiani? And I was like, okay.
I'm trying to confirm right now that who I saw was Macaulay Culkin, but I have a feeling it was like a very heavily made up character that they spotlighted for a second.
That would stand to reason. I think I've heard some rumblings that he might be playing like a scientist-based character, which would be kind of in keeping with I can't remember his first name, but Emmerich, the actor with the last name Emmerich that appeared in season 1 as a scientist of some kind. That would be kind of in keeping with that. But if it was Kumail in the cockpit with Maximus there, good on Kumail. I mean, I know the Marvel Cinematic Universe didn't pan out the way he wanted it to, but I always go back to his days as a correspondent on G4. Like he's doing it for us nerds. He's doing it. He's showing up in the property. He's getting to have the fun, getting to do the wish fulfillment. So I'm really happy for him if it is him. And yeah, I definitely was excited to see the Death Claw at the end there. And that was pretty much my big takeaway to Jay there is, while there were some allusions to possible connections to New Vegas in the first season 2 seems like it's fully embracing that particular continuity. Or again, it's a choose your own adventure kind of. You get to choose your fate within the context of games. So at least embracing one of the possible endings for that game, or maybe recontextualizing.
Probably my favorite thing about the trailer is that we see some flashbacks to the pre-end times or whatever, because I felt like we got a lot of that story told in the first season of the background of the characters, and I was a little worried that the show would lose that spirit of finding out more about the past as you find out about the future. It has that very kind of Lost vibe where you're finding out the history of the characters as you're finding out what's going on. And I know with Vegas in the game, a lot of people love that environment. So I'm really curious about how much they're going to like retell game storyline and how much we're going to need to know from the game, because I know they're bringing back characters. I feel like I need to go play the game because everyone's been talking about it for years. I've never played it. So I'm really excited for them to continue to have that sort of ability to bounce between storylines, because I thought that was really fascinating in the first season, finding out how the world ended, you know? Also, I just have to call it Justin Theroux. Y'all were talking about him. The thing that always blows my mind is that his writing credits.
Oh yeah,
because I did not know he was a writer. He wrote
Iron Man 2, right?
Yes, Iron Man 2 is the big one, which is just like crazy to me. But also Tropic Thunder.
Oh wow,
yeah, and Zoolander 2, like screenplay. He wrote the screenplay for Tropic Thunder. He did Zoolander 2, Iron Man 2. Well, but for a guy who's mostly an actor, he only has 6 writing credits, and it's like a few bangers in there. And then I was really and clearly has some connection to Ben Stiller with the Zoolander and Tropic Thunder stuff. So I keep wondering when like he'll show up in Severance now, because that connection. Bet he'd be really good on that show.
Oh,
I like that.
Perfect fit
too. Yeah, he could totally. I feel like with that big beard from The Leftovers, he could fit in really well as an Egan.
Ooh, yeah, he could definitely work as an Egan. That's a good call.
Yeah.
Could see him bringing some of his vibes from Beetlejuice into an Egan employee. Yeah,
totally. All right, well, when we come back, we've got a great packed lightning round. Marvel Zombies moves up its release date. Gandalf and Frodo return to Middle-earth. Plus, Paramount courts the Duffer Brothers, among other wheeling and dealing. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Multiverse News. A chest burster came out of me for that one. We have a Patreon, and you guys check it out at patreon.com/multiverse newscast. Tell them about it, Jay Scotty.
Yeah, I'm going to make an assumption. If you're still listening at this point in the show, you probably like the show. And if you want to support the show and keep the show going, the best way to do that is by supporting us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/multiverse news, where you get to be a part of the show. You get to vote in polls, leave comments, get access to the exclusive live stream that is deleted from YouTube as soon as we go off the air. So there's a lot of great stuff there. And if you do the math, and I'm not a math guy, but I've crunched the numbers, and at $4 a month, that is less than $1 per episode. So you can't shake a stick at that in this economy. So do your part and support us on Patreon. Deal.
Yeah, zero inflation so far for the entire course of this show.
You're assuming people love us, but you're forgetting about the people that hate listen.
There is a contingency, and they are strong, and they are loud.
Oh man! All right, and our Patreon of the week for this week is Scott Forbes. Thank you, Scott, for being a patron.
Thank you for being a patron.
All right, let's dive into our lightning round. This is where I'm going to read a story, and if anyone on the panel would like to comment on that story, just chime in by shouting out your name as the buzzer, and whoever chimes in first will get to comment on the story, and once per lightning round, we get a rebuttal. Here we go. In an interview with Collider, Marvel Zombies director Brian Andrews confirmed that the series has moved its release date up to September 24th, and all episodes of the series will be available to stream at once. He also confirmed that the 4 episodes will be rated TVMA.
Reed, I'm very excited about this. I've been looking forward to this, and ever since the What If episode, I believe it's going to be tailing off from the end of that episode. I could be wrong, but either way, I'm excited about the TVMA rating and trying to figure out, because they did say obviously it's going to have some zombie gore, but there will be profanity placed in when it sees fit. So I'm curious to see which of these characters is going to be throwing out some language that we're not used to hearing from them, and especially now that they've announced Paul Rudd will be returning as Scott Lang, Wyatt Russell will be returning as John Walker, Tessa Thompson will be returning as Valkyrie, and then you have Todd Williams, classic voice actor, who is going to be joining as Blade, and that will be our big MCU introduction to Blade, and I can see that being where the profanity comes in, and especially since he's supposed to be, as we've seen in concept art, adopting the mantle of Moon Knight. So it's going to be a wild ride, and I'm very excited for it.
Matt, with a very short rebuttal, I'm mad about it being all episodes at once. I really thought they were going to do this leading up into Halloween. It makes a lot of sense to start around the end of September and lead up to the last episode falls near Halloween. I think it's dumb to drop things all at once, just in general. And I don't mean just as a podcaster who's mad about not being able to podcast well about it. I really do think it just hurts the conversation. And this is a show that I think would get some conversation. And I think waiting between episodes is like an important part of television watching personally. I think the binge model is fine, but it makes all TV feel like it just goes through you and you don't have the memory. Like, there's just something about waiting week to week, in my opinion. And this may be just old man shakes fist at cloud, but like, when I think about TV shows I watched as a kid, those TV shows took up that entire season of my life. Like, it's like 20 episodes of Star Trek, and then there would be like a cliffhanger and I have to wait till the next season, but it was 22 episodes and I would sit there and like it's like half the year is filled with Star Trek for me. And so this whole model of dropping everything all at once, and it's like one day of your life instead of an entire season of your life where you're thinking about the characters and you're wondering what's going to happen on cliffhangers and all that stuff. I just think that's really lost, and it really is lost on a community like ours where we love to talk about these things. So I don't like
Marvel Zombies. You don't have to treat us like Marvel Zombies, like content, brains, give it to me all now.
Are we the zombies? Is that what you're saying? We were the zombies all along?
It's so meta. Just go with it.
All right. At a recent London fan event, Sir Ian McKellen claimed Frodo and Gandalf will appear in Andy Serkis's upcoming The Hunt for the Golem film, without specifying whether he and Elijah Wood would reprise their iconic roles.
Scotty, I feel like the only appropriate response to this is, all right then, keep your secrets. Which he's actually not keeping any secrets. He's being very loose-lipped, and Gandalf is gabbing here, and I'm pretty sure he's doing this without permission. But when you're Sir Ian McKellen's age and you have his level of acclaim, you really can do no wrong. So again, The Hunt for Gollum, on the surface, it's a story that I don't feel like needs to be told. But again, if there's a potential to kind of bring back our titular Fellowship of the Ring from Fellowship of the Ring, I think that would get, potentially a lot of butts and seats. So it's all going to come down to the execution, but Andy Serkis has yet to impress me as a filmmaker, but I love the guy, always rooting for him.
Yeah, I'm going to pop in to say real quick that I don't know how you bring these guys back unless it's sort of like a flashback scenario, like hey, we're telling a story to each other, kind of like what The Hobbit did sort of with like Bilbo sort of telling the story kind of thing. It's almost like has to be that, because this movie's supposed to take place before the events of the Fellowship of the Ring. So I did see, though, a quote that, like, because now they're just doing this, they're asking all of the people who are in those films, like, would you come back and be fill in the blank? And of course, every single one of them are like, yeah, I guess so. So the one of the day that I saw today was Viggo Mortensen, who, if you haven't seen Viggo Mortensen in a while, he doesn't look like he did in the trilogy. Okay, I know how you picture him in the trilogy. I get it. But he doesn't look like that now. But he was like, yeah, I'd be open to coming back. I'm like, of course you would, man. Like, he played with the most iconic roles of all time. But it's like, how are we going to get Aragorn in there? It's like, we can't just bring them all back. I don't know. But it'll be, I don't know. I'm with you, Scotty. It's like the Andy Serkis factor kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies. But, I'm down, I think, at the end of the day for it.
Well, Viggo Mortensen has a little bit of Alan Alda and MASH vibes going on.
Totally.
That is not Aragorn.
Yeah, when he like pushes the doors open at Helm's Deep, he's got the hair. So like, that's not him anymore, and that's fine. He looks great. I'm just saying, we can't put a sword in that man's hands anymore.
NBC Universal announced that it has acquired the rights, excluding publishing, to Robert Ludlum's popular Jason Bourne and Treadstone book series.
Jay, so they're going to be able to make the movies from it now. They're going to be able to make the shows from it now, and I would imagine that that's going to happen pretty soon. They want their Jack Ryan / Extraction / you want to have your big action budget thing. The Matt Damon Bourne stuff is still kind of iconic among a certain amount of people. Like, people love Tom Clancy shit. Like, I don't know if you Tom Clancy is like a huge kind of like thing still now. Like, people love those books and that genre of just like spy, CIA, like undercover. And I'm like, people will go see Bourne stuff. Even if Matt Damon's not in it, if you slap that name recognition on it, people are going to go see it. So totally makes sense that this would get bought by a big company like that.
Totally. Weapons took the #1 spot at the box office again in its second weekend with a drop of only 43%, bringing its worldwide total to nearly $150 million. Nobody 2 generated around $15 million worldwide in its opening weekend on a $25 million budget.
Scotty, yeah, looking at Weapons, a 43% 3% hold or drop here, rather. Whether you're a horror movie, any kind of movie, that's just a great hold that you're seeing there. So Warner Brothers has to be insanely happy with those numbers. New Line as well, and Jordan Peele is probably still off somewhere, kicking himself that he wasn't able to get the rights to this movie. But also looking at Nobody 2, I did go see Nobody 2. I thought it was a little bit of a regression from the first film, which was a pandemic release, and I think got probably bolstered by being one of the few movies that was available in theaters at the time. But Sharon Stone gives a great performance. If there's a reason to see the movie, she's it. And again, even though it only did $15 million worldwide here, it's on a $25 million budget. It didn't have an insane marketing budget. It's going to be okay. And that's, again, I know it's not a superhero movie, but I'm just always going to say, like, superhero movies just need to learn the lesson, get those budgets down, and we'll be okay. We'll survive this thing.
Netflix has dropped a trailer for the second half of season 2 of Wednesday, which will stream on September 3rd.
Read. I finally watched the first half of season 2. Am I looking forward to, I'm gonna watch the second part, but I don't know what it was with this season 2. If it was the wait from season 1 and I just kind of lost interest or whatever, but it just kind of became good background TV for me. Like, it was entertaining enough, it was fun enough, but I was missing parts and I didn't really care that I was missing certain parts. Curious to see Lady Gaga in this second half, and the tease is a big one for it, but this is another thing with Netflix and a lot of streamers. I don't like breaking your seasons in half. If you're already doing a long wait for the next season and it's going to be 6 episodes, 8 episodes, just give me the 8 episodes. Just go ahead and make me disappointed with the low amount there now.
Just get it out of the way, rip the Band-Aid off.
I gotta wait a month now for the second half, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, surprise third part coming up in a month. Okay.
Yeah. I fully disagree with you, but I always want them to take their time. But if you're gonna split it into 2, just make it weekly release and allow people to watch them together. Like, they're clearly feeling by this whole splitting things up. They're clearly being like, well, people are getting savvy and they're just signing up for Netflix for a month to watch our thing. So now we're going to start splitting them up to keep people around. Just put them out weekly. Like, people will be more engaged with your content. This whole 3 episodes, 4 episodes, then wait 2 months for 3 or 4 more episodes. It's just unnecessarily complicated and makes it hard to follow, I think, than every Tuesday night for a few months. This is just me making the same argument I made a few stories ago. I'm sorry, but it's a thing I don't like about current binge TV.
Oh, we're totally kindred souls on that. I miss weekly TV. I don't like this break. Like, if you're gonna binge, just let me binge all at once. But otherwise, give me a weekly release. I was loving The Pit. The Pit was keeping me on HBO Max, weekly. I'm looking forward to it every Thursday night. Yeah. Come on, let's go. Even Disney Plus doing some of the Star Wars releases on Tuesday nights and, whatever. Like, give me weekly. That was fun. I love that. Old men yelling at clouds. Weekly.
But I like the broken up more than I like the binging. I just always like it. The more and more you spread it out, the more and more I like it. For me, it's just always better that way. Like, if you want to binge, just wait and binge. You can always binge if you want to binge, but you can't watch along with the world and have the conversations everyone's just having. I mean, think about if Severance wasn't weekly. You know what I mean? Like, how different of an experience that would be. Yeah. It would have been terrible.
Because there would have been one guy in your office that watched it all the night before and finished it. He's like, "Have you seen it? Did you know this happens?" And you're like, "Dude, come on, man."
There would have been a new Rockstars video day 2. We've figured out season 3 already.
And then you feel the pressure of all those spoilers swirling to watch it fast. So it puts the pressure on us to finish it. And that's just, I don't like feeling pressure to finish something. I don't like it.
I do think that different formats and types of content lend themselves to different models. I do think binging works in some instances. If you're giving me a 20-minute comedy, I'll binge that all day. And even some animated shows, I'll binge those. But yeah, once you get into the 45-minute hour dramas that are super heady and warrant analysis and discussion. I mean, even in the case of Eyes of Wakanda or Marvel Zombies, even though those were shorter, given the nature of their fandom and the universes that they're connected to, they lend themselves to more discussion.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, Ironheart. I'm mad about that one being not broken up. I think the speculation around Mephisto and stuff would have been so strong, and we just didn't get it. Okay. Stranger Things creators, the Duffer Brothers, are in talks for a massive overall deal with Paramount that includes both streaming and features with a big theatrical component, something the pair have not been able to get at their current home of more than a decade in Netflix.
Scotty, I'll just set us up to say that we went from being in talks to this being a done deal.
Yeah.
So, Jay, you can probably provide more context after that.
They got a 4-year deal with Paramount, so they're sticking around for a while. They want to be in theaters. That's the thing, and they've said that with Netflix, and that's been the holdup. It seems like with their deal is that they've wanted to have theatrical releases. They wanted to do movies, but Netflix wants them to focus on other things like Stranger Things and spinning off Stranger Things and all this type of stuff. And these guys want to make a movie. They want to be in the theaters.
Original Scary Movie actresses Regina Hall and Anna Faris are coming back as Brenda and Cindy, respectively, for the Wayans brothers' restart of the comedy franchise, which is eyeing a 2026 release.
Reed, I'm very excited that they're back. I was already excited about the Wayans brothers' involvement and getting back into these into the Scary Movie franchise and seeing what they're going to do with so many years to catch up on of parodying horror movies and culture and everything. But getting Regina Hall and Anna Faris seemed essential. Like those are two more essential people you have to have on that. They're just ridiculous in those movies. They're so goofy. They're both very, very talented actors, and like especially Regina Hall has had such a crazy career rise since her last appearance in a Scary Movie. So it's going to be fun to see her kind of dive back into these ditzy, aggressive characters of Brenda and Cindy, these best friends.
Amazon MGM Studios and Mattel's big screen adaptation of Masters of the Universe has cast Kristen Wiig as the voice of Roboto, the Hollywood Reporter has learned.
Scotty, a couple of years back on Animation Deliberation, I went down a little bit of a journey revisiting like the classic He-Man and the Masters of the Universe animated series from the 80s. And I don't remember being exposed to the character of Roboto. So not a lot of background or context for that. But I do look at Kristen Wiig, and the first thing that comes to mind is Wonder Woman 1984. Well, she was, a live action cheetah in that, and she's doing a voice role here. It's just, I hope this doesn't go the same way. But again, she's a comedic actress. I think that's where her strengths lie. So if she can bring like some personality and character and zaniness to a what sounds like a robotic character, it could be a nice. It could be a refreshing take, and I think it will lend itself to, given Travis Knight's involvement and everything that we've kind of heard about this version of Masters of the Universe, I think it's going to lean into a tone that's not dissimilar to something like Thor Ragnarok, in which case, Kristen Wiig would be very welcome in that kind of environment.
Mm-hmm. Netflix has announced that Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein will receive a limited release in theaters starting October 17th, ahead of the Netflix premiere on November 7th. And the Duffer Brothers are mad about it.
Scotty, just got to say, hell yeah. Now I don't have to sign back up for Netflix for that much longer. I get to go see this thing in a theater. Woohoo!
The run continues.
Now we just got to hope they do the same thing for Wake Up Dead Man.
What chip do you have? Have you gotten your 1 month chip yet?
That's like I'm at 30 days.
For your Netflix
days.
sober.
If we get enough Patreon subscribers, Scotty will resubscribe to Netflix. We need like a fund, like a Scotty subscribes to Netflix fund.
Yeah, if you all fit in the bill, let's do it. Yeah.
Following the official Skydance Paramount merger last week, studio leadership has laid out its top film priorities for its upcoming slate, specifically including Top Gun 3, the Star Trek franchise, the Transformers franchise, a follow-up to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, and the Quiet Place franchise. Star Trek was mentioned, so I'll say Matt. Okay, go Reed.
I was just gonna say IP for the win. It's post merger they got to make back all that money that Stephen Colbert lost apparently. But I don't know about Top Gun 3 and Star Trek, I hope that I don't know, I'm curious to see how you feel about it, Matt, but I would love to see more of that Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto cast. I'd like to see another film with them. I actually really enjoyed that trilogy for what it was. Yeah. And Transformers, we'll see. I don't know what they're going to do if they bring back Bay, too. That was a rumor. But
he's supposed to be coming back, yeah.
Get that follow-up going to Mutant Mayhem. I really enjoyed that movie. I love the animation. I love the cast. Everything about it was so fun. So I would love to see some type of follow-up to that as soon as possible.
I have to do another Matt Buttle on Star because Star Trek was mentioned. As I said, I'm cautiously optimistic, but anytime you have a big shakeup like this, change of hands, like who knows what's going to happen. And Star Trek has been in a number of directions the last few years with this entire kind of universe they've been building online. I mean, they've had like 5 concurrent running series that have been playing on Paramount Plus. But I think I've been making the case for all this time that those series have been making the universe of Star Trek fans kind of smaller because they're not bringing in new fans. If you don't subscribe to Paramount Plus, it is very hard to get this content. And so I think I've made this case on this show. I've made this case on the Star Trek Universe podcast. But like, I just think you got to make Star Trek that like can get kids in the door, and that, like, to me, Star Trek is about having a show that the whole family can sit around and like there's interesting sci-fi concepts for the kids to start wrapping their heads around, and there's interesting ethical dilemmas for the parents to wrestle with. Like, I just think it's such a cool family type show, and I think that Star Trek has become this sort of bifurcated thing where they make a cartoon for kids and then they make a show for that is so steeped in Easter eggs that it is almost useless to anyone who doesn't know what's going on. And then they make a show that's like a Rick and Morty ripoff. It's just like all over the place. And so I think there's room for Star Trek to be picked up and have vision. And like the biggest thing that I'm annoyed at with Star Trek is everything's a prequel now. They just keep retreading old ground. And that's the Star Trek 2009 movies you mentioned, the Kelvinverse movies. I like them. I don't really like what J.J. Abrams, the direction J.J. Abrams took with them. The first 2 just feel like retreads of old material. I like the first. I feel very much like I feel with Star Wars Force Awakens. I like the first one. You've set up the world. Now where are you going to go with it? And then you didn't go anywhere that we wanted to go. And I think J.J. Abrams has that mystery box problem of never knowing how he wants to end anything and never having real vision or direction, in my opinion. So I am excited.
He didn't direct the last one though, right?
No, he didn't. And I like the last one. Last one's my favorite.
He came back and did. Wait, we're talking about
the last Star Wars, but I think it was Justin Lin that did the last Star Trek. Yeah.
So he directed the first 2, and the first one is just let's put the team together, and the second one is literally a retread of Wrath of Khan.
When was the last time Star Trek
Beyond
was
2016, 2017?
Yeah, it's been about a decade.
Yeah, a decade. Yeah, it's time.
Well, it's whole lot of holdup was there was supposed to be a Quentin Tarantino Star Trek movie too.
That was teased for a while. That was talked about, and they recently made like a movie they put on. Oh, it was just terrible. They made a terrible movie that they put directly to Paramount Plus that was sort of like edgier or whatever. And
the one with Michelle Yeoh. That was
It was sort of a Suicide Squad type thing, like criminals in Starfleet working for Starfleet sort of thing. I think it was probably the worst thing they've put out. I love Star Trek, and I've watched it all, and I love it all for what it is, but I just want them to make stories that move forward again. I'm really tired of the prequel problem where they just keep saying, like, let's see what a different actor can do with Spock. Like, let's just create new characters. I grew up in the era of Star Trek. Star Trek is what made me love these interconnected universes. Marvel is just like the way that it interconnects and has movies and TVs and it all is one contiguous universe. Star Trek did it first. You know what I mean? Like Star Trek did it since 1968. It's one contiguous universe all the way through until you get to the 2009 movies and then they do offshoots. But still, it's what led me into this whole life of geekdom, and I just want it to be good again. There are shining moments of Star Trek right now on television. Strange New Worlds has been really good at times, but then it just has absolutely trash episodes, and I'm like, you just didn't even think this one through. Like, what are you doing? I don't know. I could talk all day about it, and I have Star Trek Universe podcast. Go check that out. But I am headline though. I'm excited to see that this is a priority for them. I will say that because there was a lot of discussion among the fans of like they may just like shutter Star Trek for a while because it's not doing very well on the streaming. So like they may just shut everything down that's already in production and just like let it all die. And that would be sad. I would hate to see a world where I'm not getting any Star Trek.
That is the antithesis to live long and prosper.
So
Shut
true.
it down and die.
Shut it down and die. All right. Legendary Entertainment, the production company behind Dune and a Minecraft movie, is in early talks with Paramount for theatrical distribution of its films after its Sony Pictures deal expired at the end of 2024. However, major franchises like Dune sequels and the Monsterverse films would remain at Warner Brothers due to existing agreements.
I don't know. Sounds like a little bit of a raw deal for Paramount when it comes to Legendary. It's like you got the Godzilla movies and the Dune movies from Legendary. I mean, they've got a Minecraft movie, and that's that will no doubt get a sequel. But I imagine that is probably tied up with Warner Brothers as well. So I'll be interested to see what other IP Legendary has in its stable, because nothing is really coming to mind for me. So, but Paramount is definitely building up their collection of IP there.
Freed up that Colbert money, man. They got to spend.
Yeah.
Oh man. English-born Terrence Stamp, who memorably played villain General Zod in the 70s Superman films, died Sunday at age 87.
Scotty, obviously, General Zod is a character that looms large within the Superman mythology. I think Michael Shannon did a stand-up job in Man of Steel. That's a movie that has its issues, but I thought Michael Shannon did a great job, and Terrence Stamp was the one that put the character on the map, right? He went from being an obscure comic book character to being one of the like household Kryptonian names. So I know outside of Superman, his contributions to film are wide and varied, and he's a very treasured and talented performer. So his impact will be felt, and condolences go out to his friends, family, and fans.
Absolutely. HBO's Harry Potter series has cast the remainder of the Weasley children, including Tristan Harland as Fred Weasley, Gabriel Harlan as George Weasley, Rory Spooner as Percy Weasley, and Gracie Cochran as Ginny Weasley.
Jay, if you AI generated the Weasley family, it's this photo. They all have red hair. They all look exactly like you would expect. But these are big characters. I mean, like if you know how the story goes, like Ginny Weasley especially is a huge character by the end. So I mean, these are important roles at the end of the day. But yeah. Have you ever seen, 5 people with red hair? Well, you've seen these new cast members.
Indeed. All right. Well, that's our show for tonight. Please tell people where they can find you online. Anything you got going on?
It is always great to be here. Of course, people can find me at 323read, at 323reid on all social media. The 323 Network on YouTube. Please go there, subscribe to us. We got plenty going on. We're going to be getting into our new season. Football season is right around the corner, so we're heavy on that. We just did our fantasy football special, and I know there are some people in Stranded Panda Network and Universe who would enjoy and get into that. I was just throwing around an idea with Zahir Ali about it'd be fun to do like a 323 Network versus Stranded Panda Network fantasy league. And I could see some Andre Sparks and he said Jay would be all in on that. So that's something we got going on. We'll be going over some MCU talk, the Fantastic Four. We haven't gotten to talk about that since our summer break. So plenty of things for everybody there. And as always, it's great to be here and really happy to always hop in.
Yeah, man. Seriously great to have you. And I wish that I were knowledgeable enough to join you for a football
here's
thing.
The thing.
That wouldn't
with
be
fantasy football, you play in like you play with like coworkers or something in a league, and you do all this research, and you know all the players, and you know the depth charts, and you sit there and pore over it, and then somebody from accounting named like Brenda, who knows nothing about football and drafted like Joe Burrow because she thought he was hot or whatever, she wins. So you don't really like have to know a lot. It's just all vibes,
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So far, I've done really well with the Fantasy Heroes League, and I feel like I would be like risking my reputation or something trying to talk about actual sports.
No, I did watch the league on FX, and they made it look like a lot of fun.
It's fun.
It is fun.
It's as fun as you make. It's one of the things that's as fun as you make it.
Sure.
It can be fun if you make it fun.
Nice.
If my network wins, we take all of your subscribers and everything.
Send over all your passwords.
All right, and J. Scotty St. Clair, what you got going on?
Yeah, we talked about Peacemaker Season 2 quite a bit, and if you're looking for coverage once that debuts later this week, you're going to want to check out the Always Watching podcast feed, where we'll be talking about Peacemaker Season 2, as well as Alien Earth. That's only two episodes in, but the third episode comes out like right about now, and wow, that is just a great show that I'm super excited for the future of. So check it out on Always Watching.
Mm-hmm. And Jay Sisson.
Just commute the podcast. We didn't have a new episode this week, but we'll have a new one on Monday. So good time to subscribe if you've never done that before.
Yeah, do it. Commute the podcast. I'm over on the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. We are doing some fun episodes just because we're in a bit of a content drought. So we're trying to do some fun, like themed episodes. We did sort of a state of the MCU where we talked about how the phase 4 and phase 5 shook out. And I think that's just a lot of fun to do, sort of like more over encapsulating episodes than just always riding the content, which I love riding the content too, but it's just a little different and fun right now. So come check that out at the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. And as Jay Scotty mentioned, Always Watching, we got so much going on over there with Alien Earth and Peacemaker, two humongous franchise shows that come out at the same time that James Gunn and Noah Hawley at the same time. Like, we are so lucky to have to be in this particular version of the universe. Yeah, this particular corner of the multiverse where we get those shows at the same time.
Not where we're doing the cheese show, but this one.
Yeah, exactly. That cheese show, those shows don't exist. They got to resort to cheese talk. All right, guys. Well, we will be back right here on the Multiverse News very soon. Peace.
You stay classy and cheesy, Multiverse.
Hey, thanks for listening to Multiverse News, or watching it, or whatever you're doing, eyeballs or ear holes, whichever thing. We do this show every week, and we appreciate you listening. strandedpanda.com is where you can find all of our podcasts, and thank you for listening. Check us out wherever you get podcasts. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit the little bell icon, whatever you have on whatever service you're doing. Rate us, like us. We're really thirsty. That's what I'm saying.